So, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What if I'm, say, connected to you, I'm like your soulmate? Now, does that then make me, or do I then become, or could I then be a sister to, say, Cutter? Therefore, I could be playing the wheel because I'm one of his sisters, but I'm actually married to you? No. Why not? Because they don't intertwine. You cannot actually be a sister of Cutter and a wife of Jutter. That's like being a platypus and an elephant. Okay, it's not possible. The reason that is because, again, there is not one religion on earth. Okay? There's not one religion on earth. There's not one Cain. What you're just saying is, if you are the lover of Cain, you are the sister of Abel. That's kind of ridiculous. Because again, you're pretending there's one Cain. You cannot say that you are one Cain's sister and one Cain's lover, because how many horsemen are there? 4. Exactly. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you are connected in all ways to each one. Would you be a past life wife of mine, and a sister of Cutter, and a sister of Jutter, and a sister of Rudder? That's not possible. And you can't just choose, well, I'd be a sister to Sutter, because every single one of them has curses, fate, reasons, and purposes, lives they've lived. Not to mention the fact that this is a very ancient concept. Okay? When you start talking these kinds of religions, you're back in ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Sumeria. How many people on earth? Not that many. Less people on earth then than are now. Now, if you were a sister of one Cain in 4 billion BC, you might have been a sister or lover to another. But today, there might be 30 sisters of Jutter, 50 sisters of Cutter, and 12 billion people that aren't even either one, because who cares? Just the same as you aren't necessarily a soulmate of any Cain. There are 4 horsemen, which means there are 4 Cains on earth. Now, they could be that, very simply, each one of them has 100 sisters and 100 soulmates, making, what, 800 women out of a planet of, what, 6 billion? So maybe the other billions have absolutely no connection whatsoever to the 4 Cains. It never will, and it doesn't matter. Because the only thing the Cains care about is that specific group of 200 that they are watching. That's called God's will on earth, fate, and who you meet and who you don't meet on earth. Okay, I can kind of understand that. I mean, you have to look at it from a concept of this. You live your life because you were born. Okay? You were born in an area. You go to school in that area. You may never know anyone beyond that area. Till you move out of that area, go to another location. You could be like me, who travels everywhere all around the world, meeting hundreds of thousands of people in different countries everywhere. And maybe I'll meet 2,000 people that are connected to me over the course of even 3 years. But they all live in different countries. Now, you take 2,000 people, and you think that's a large number. But when you then say, of those 2,000, 20 would marry you. then you then say one lives in your country. What does that mean? That means either you have to marry that one or you have to go and find somebody else. Which means, again, traveling more, going around the world more, going to other places, going to other things. You know, you go to college, you move to a different town. You move away, you go to a different place. The more people you meet, the more your choices are, the more chances you have. Most people never deal with this. Why? Because they go to a school, they fall in love with someone in that school, they decide to marry them when they graduate and are old enough to do so, and they live happily ever after? Well, some concepts, yes. I mean, that does happen with some, not all. Sometimes the happily ever after ends in a divorce, and they meet one other person, marry them, and live for another couple of years. Maybe they're happy that way. Maybe they go through another divorce. But that's the point, okay? Most people, if you were to ask them, how many women or how many men have you dated in your entire life? And if you were asked them that at the age of 90, you know how many they'd say? Anywhere between 1 and maybe 10. That's how many people they've kissed. That's how many people they've had sex with in their entire life, from 0 to 90. I did 200 women in what? 2 years? Plus the rest of my life? And none of them bothered to care? That's part of the problem. Okay? See, that's why no one on earth is like me. Because why was I bothering to date that many? I didn't need to. That woman could have just married me and been done with it. They didn't want to. They grew up in Beverly Hills and wanted to trade up and do other bullshit things, which they say all that. Do they mean it? Doesn't matter, because they did it. And what's done is done. And how can you go back? Many people would ask this question of me, how could I ever go back to him? But because they'll never try anyway, who the fuck cares? Okay? It's all about getting out of your skull. The world does not exist only inside that gray matter in your head. The world is out there. And how you live and what you do is out there, not in here. You know, Strawberry, one of the greatest lessons of life is when you look at another person in anything at all, are you externalizing or internalizing? What do you mean? Well, you can look at any person. I can look at you, you can look at me, we can look at them out there watching us, and the question is, are we externalizing or internalizing? Now, that you can take that in both directions. Sometimes it is good to internalize, sometimes it is good to externalize. Like, for example, if somebody says something to you and it really kind of sinks in, you're internalizing it. And maybe it's a good advice and you're internalizing the good advice. If somebody says something that has nothing to pertain to you and you are thinking that it does, you're internalizing in a bad way. Okay? And that's where you need to externalize. For example, if you watched a performer do a performance and you said, wow, that was fantastic. How could I be like him? You're externalizing because you're analyzing their performance. You're picking apart what their performance is and you're trying to look at it and see what it is, what it does. When a fencer is fencing another person, when a karate person is fighting another individual, they're watching the style of the other individual and they're learning what they know versus what you know. So they're looking at the style, they're picking apart the style, and they're deciding what it is. That's externalizing. Then to internalize, what they do is they then apply it to their own styles. And it incorporates into what they do. This is how you grow. This is how you change. Okay? And it's the same thing with words. It's the same thing with emotions. And the same thing with people. If you sit there and you watch somebody else, are you looking at them as a, well, if I was up there and I was performing like that, I would want them to see me as something great? Or are you looking at them like they're trash? Why should I even bother looking at them? Why should they have won this? It's so terrible. I should have had that part. I should have done this. That's externalizing in a very bad way. That's internalizing in a very bad way. That's putting your opinions on somebody else, which isn't looking at them. That's reverse psychology. You should never do that. But most people who are drunk do that all the time because it's the only thing they know when they are drunk. Jutter, can you explain to me this whole concept of, like, I don't know, what did he say, betting against the wheel and the queen bee thing and the queen bee thing and the rose and all this nonsense? It is nonsense. That's what it is. It's drunk sitting around theorizing about absolute bullshit. Well, okay, alright, let me think. So you've got this concept of like pearl necklaces and bees and honey, and you've got this concept of, what is it all, a rose and that kind of nonsense? Yeah, okay. First of all, betting against the wheel. How many times have I heard this crap in my life? Okay, first of all, every single person I have ever met in my entire life that has ever said blood war, that has ever said betting against the wheel, who has ever said under the gun, or any other concept of this bullshit, every single person I have ever met in my entire life that has ever spouted that crap has never, ever been able to answer me when I ask them, what do they think they win? What do they think they are betting with? What do they think they are betting against? What do they get when the bet is done? When it is decided whether they won or lost, what did they win or lose? How was it decided that they won or lost? What do they gain? What's in it for them? What do they get? There isn't a single person on earth that has ever been able to explain any of it, because they say things like, I'm betting against the wheel, as if that phrase is the answer to what they get from betting. That means everything. It's like saying Bible. It's everything. It's all of everything in a single phrase, and it means nothing, because it's all crap. It has absolutely no meaning, no bearing, nothing. None. Okay? This crap about two queen bees fighting over a rose? Oh, come on. Here, let me ask you a question. Okay? Alright? Let me ask you a question. Is every single man on earth Cain? Well, if you look at the Bible from a literal aspect, if you literally apply the words of some pages of the Bible, you can say that Cain killed Abel, and so every man is a son of Cain. And what happened to Abel's sons? Well, didn't they hunt him down? Who knows? That's after the ark. Then you have the flood and the ark. For all any of us know, all of the concepts of Cain and Abel from the Bible were washed away with a flood anyway, because they didn't meet the ark. Because Noah built an ark, put the animals on the ark, the world was covered with a flood, and who bloody cares about Cain and Abel now? Because they washed away with the flood. See? it gets stupider and stupider the more you try and literally take anything. And that's a lot of it. It's a lot of, I want to be literal, I want to explain it all, and I want everything to be literal too. Bullshit. Crap. Dumb, stupid nonsense. Now, let's look at this concept of 2 queen bees. Okay? Alright? Maybe I'll think about that for a minute. Let me think. 2 queen bees and a rose. What does that mean? That means I am not Jutter King. What? It means I am a normal human. It means I am a boy. It means I am no different than that boy over there, who is no different from that boy over there, who is no different than that boy over there, who is no different from that boy over there. Every single person on earth is the same. There is no uniqueness. There is no creature of God on earth. Get this through your head. The moment you start saying things like, there are 2 queen bees and a rose, it means that there are no psychics, there are no angels, there are no servants of God, there are no hierarchy, there is no nothing. Every man, woman, and child on earth is equal. As if God is not allowed to put anything on earth. Who would ever say that to God? You're not allowed. Yeah. Watch him laugh in your face. Now, what's the biggest stupid about the whole concept? Especially when you approach one of the 4 horsemen and say that. Because the 4 horsemen exist all the time. Because the 4 horsemen are always being blamed for, like, wars, pestilence, death, etc. So they must be here. And if you're claiming that there are horsemen, you are claiming there are differences between the horsemen and normal mortals. But you just said that everybody is a queen bee and everybody is a rose, which means there is no us. 4 horsemen are not on the planet. That's why it's a lot of bullshit. Okay? How boring would it be if everybody decided that everybody was just a plain, normal person? That's like looking at a field out in the normal part of the world. Okay? You look out in a field, and you look at the field and there's grass, and there's a butterfly, and a butterfly lands on a daffodil, and you go, oh, that's cool, and then the butterfly flies away, and you're looking at a daffodil and grass, and you're going, no, that's boring. So you walk over to the daffodil and you look down, and you see ants growing, and you go, well, I guess that's interesting. And then you decide that every single ant is every single ant, and there is no insects other than the ants, because the ants are the only thing that are important. And they're all alike, because they're all black. That's dumb. Exactly. It's just as stupid to sit there and talk about everybody being a queen bee and a rose. Okay? I mean, here, you have the concept betting against the wheel. Let me ask you a question. If you are a queen bee and they are betting against the wheel to determine who you are going to marry and who you are going to be with, because they have to decide upon what is allowed and what is not allowed. Another concept along these lines is that if you are a mate, if you were a wife in a past life to a husband and you met in this life, then everybody else must run interference because you died and you're not allowed to return to the past life man or woman that you met or loved, because it's separating 2 paired souls. Now, when you understand that, you look at everything and you say, wait a minute, why? Who cares? Why would anyone even think that? Why would it matter? Who would give a damn one way or another? It's the concept of, we want only one Romeo and one Juliet. And Romeo and Juliet go off to a star and create another planet, become another Adam and Eve. Really? How stupid. Why? Okay? It's all these kinds of nonsensical concepts that have no bearing at all on life. All it is verbal and mental abuse. Nothing more. Most of it is created because they're drunk. And it sounds cool when you're drunk. If you are drunk and you're coming up with this stuff, you're going, hey, I think it's cool that, you know, you're like a rose and you're like, got that queen bee over there is like really hot for you. Oh yeah, go fuck that. Yeah. That she's really hot for you. Go. It sounds cool when you're drunk. When you're sober, it sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Because exactly that's what it is. These are words that people that are drunk and high use, and nothing else. Normal, sane people don't even think along these lines because it's outside of their head, and because you're too inside your head, and most people are outside of their head. Most people are more interested in, well, what am I going to do today, than they are about, oh gee, what's really going on over there, and what am I going to think about over here, and so on and so forth. And it's also gossip hounds. Gossip hounds want to create gossip if gossip doesn't exist. On and on and on. It's just stupid bullshit. It has no bearing on anything. But let's go back once again to the stupid concept of a rose and two queen bees. Now, let's say you're a queen bee. And let's say they are betting against the wheel, and they are betting that you will not be with the rose. Well, what does that matter to you? What do you mean? I mean, you're not on the wheel. I mean, you can't bet against the wheel. You can't play the wheel. You can't do anything at all about this wheel, this concept. It doesn't even pertain to you. You are not even aware it's happening. Why? Because how can you be? You are here. He is there. Maybe you are dating each other. Maybe you are not. But they are watching you and deciding things for you. Can that actually happen? No. Exactly. You can't actually make their choices for you. So it's stupid because if, in the other perspective of this, I can't make them stop betting against the wheel because they're doing it of their own free will. It's their choice. It's their decision. I can't stop them from doing it. I can't stop them from verbally abusing people. I can't shut them up, but I can shut them up in some ways. But does it affect you? No. Does it pertain to anything? No. Does it matter? No. It's just drunk, high bullshit. Because every person on earth, remember we talked about the fates? Every person on earth wants to be one. They are a god, they are a fate, they are making decisions for other people because they can't make decisions for themselves. Boring. Very, which is why you don't stick around in your head all the time. You go out and you live life. Okay, I'm going to say one last thing about this thing about queen bees and that kind of nonsense. Now, every time anyone talks about monopoly, queen bees, betting against the wheel, blood war, any of that nonsense, what is every single thing of it? I mean, besides just flat BS? Yes. What is it? It's other people watching other people and thinking about and deciding about what other people are doing while they are doing nothing. They're sitting around drunk. They're looking at you, watching you, deciding what you do, deciding what you're about. Does that matter? No. Does that accomplish anything at all? No. It's all just BS. Now, I'm going to send you to a person who will talk to you about better things in a very short time, because he only has a short time. I'm going to send you to a Marine.